All right, well, welcome to what is probably your very first video in our series on Snap programming. Snap is a really fun programming language. It has the appearance of looking like Lego blocks that you can drag and drop onto a workspace. And the blocks that you drag into your workspace, when we click on them, can execute commands affecting sprites on a stage over here. We can have multiple sprites. We can give each of those sprites unique scripts to follow. And there are 8 different categories of blocks, commands that we can give to our sprites to give them different behaviors. We're going to be talking about lab number 2 today. Lab number 2 is called drawing shapes. And the way drawing shapes works is this. I should be able to hit the number 1 and a square should appear on the screen. It should say square. I should say 2, a triangle should appear on the screen. It should be a different color in a different location, and it should say triangle instead of square. When I say 3, I'm going to get a rhombus. I'm aware, for those of you sharp geometry minds out there, that a square technically qualifies as a rhombus because it is a 4-sided polygon that is equilateral. But I'm going to ask for a non-equiangular rhombus for your rhombus. And what does that mean? I mean, I don't want it to have 4 right angles. When I say 4, I'm going to do a parallelogram. And yes, the rhombus and the square parallelograms give me a non-equilateral, meaning give me something with different side lengths for your parallelogram. When we say 5, we're going to get a pentagon. That's a 5-sided shape. And when we say 6, we're going to get a pointed star. There are some extra credit opportunities in this lab. You can go check out the document to see what those are. But this is the basics. Once you've accomplished this, you are done with the lab. What I want to do now is give you some advice on how to best get started. So when we look here and we try and decide how we're going to start, I'm going to go ahead and build out our very first one. When you hit number 1, how do we build a square? And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a comment. Now, how do we get to comments? We right click in our workspace. We see add a comment here. Before I do any of my coding, I try to write down a series of steps that I'm going to try to accomplish. So I'm going to try to draw a square. We're going to draw a square. And the steps to this are going to be I need to move sprite to the right spot. I need to have it, we're going to move the sprite to the right spot. We're going to put the pen down. And then we're going to draw 4 sides. And then I'm going to, oops, except I can't count. We're going to draw 4 sides. And then we're going to pick the pen up. And there might be some things to add in there, but I'm going to start with this. And so how do we do draw square? Well, first thing, the control blocks give you an opportunity to decide which of your other blocks are going to get executed. That's why it's called the control category. And I want the square to be drawn when 1 is pressed. So I'm going to grab one of these when blocks. We call these hats. They're called hats because they've got this funny bump up on top of them. And a hat block means that a script is being started. There are different things that can start a script. When the flag button is clicked, could start a script. And often your multiple sprites will all be listening and waiting for flag to begin whatever it is they're supposed to do. Perhaps there's a particular key you want to press to make your sprite do something. You want your hero to go left if left arrow is pressed, and go right if right arrow is pressed. Shoot a bubble if B is pressed, so on and so forth. Well, we know we want to say if 1 is pressed, we're going to draw a square. I'm going to go ahead and attach my comment to this hat to remind myself that what comes under this hat should be fulfilling drawing a square. So I want to go to the right place. Well, the next thing you need to know are about the dimensions of the stage. Right in the center of the stage is 0, 0. I'll show you. If I tell this sprite to go to 0, 0, I drag the go to 0, 0 block right in the middle of the screen. And when I click it, boop, we see it goes to 0, 0. The top right-hand corner of the screen, I want to say, is at 240, 180. Let's see if I got that right. 240, 180, yep. And you can see the sprite's point goes right exactly to the top corner. So if you think of this like a Cartesian coordinate grid, like an old-fashioned XY grid, Then your origin 0, 0 is right in the middle. And we go 240 to the right, negative 240 to the left. We can go 180 up and negative 180 down. Those are the different directions. So where do I want this square to be drawn? Well, I want it to be drawn in negative x territory. So let's send it to negative 100. But I want it to be drawn in positive y territory. So I'll send that to positive 100. We'll call that good to start. Okay. So we're going to move to the right spot. Then we're going to put the pen down. I could move the sprite around, but unless the pen goes down, we're not going to draw anything. So I'm going to put pen down. And then I got to draw the 4 sides. And drawing the sides is going to consist of moving and then turning. And we're going to do this several times. So I'm going to move maybe 100 steps, right? If the total width of the screen is about 480, then 100 will take up a little bit of that. And then I'm going to turn. What's the internal angle of a square? It's going to be 90 degrees. So when I do this, let's watch what happens. I'm going to hit the 1 button. And sure enough, we went to that negative 100, 100 location. We moved and we turned. We're ready to move and turn again. Well, I can drag these out and enter in the right numbers, but I know this is what I want. So I'm going to use a shortcut. I'm going to right click and I'm going to say duplicate. Now, when you right click, there's a few things that you can do. You can duplicate, which means copy this block and every block below it. You can copy just the block you highlighted. You can delete that block. And then script pick, I honestly have no idea what that does. Probably takes a picture of the script, I would guess. All right, so I'm going to say duplicate. That gives me 2 of my sides. I'm going to do it one more time. And then now that I'm done moving, turning, moving, turning, moving, turning, moving, turning, I'm going to do like my script says. I'm going to pick up my pen. And then, oops, you know what I forgot? Is I forgot to say square. So let's go ahead and grab over to the looks category, which allows me to put a say in there. And we will say square. Whoops, square. Okay, excellent. Now when I hit 1, boop, I get a square. Oh, that's weird. It did it all goofy like. Oh, and you know what it is? Look at the direction my little sprite is facing. The turtle is facing down. So it goes to this location and it kind of builds it crooked. I want to always start facing the same way. So the way that Snap works, it has a 360 degree facing system where if you're going up, that is 0 degrees. To the right is 90, down is 180, left is 270, and up is either 360 or 0 again. I want my square to always start my little sprite before it draws to always face right at first. And so when it does that, I get a square. Now you might have noticed my screen's getting kind of cluttered. I've got that other square that I don't want there. What I can do is I can say, look, if the space key is ever pressed, go ahead and just clear the screen. And that takes care of it for me. And now I just get the square in the location I want. So how do we adapt the square script that we've just finished to triangle, rhombus, parallelogram, pentagon, and 5-pointed star? Well, the answer is going to be, you got to pick new locations. If you want to pick different colors for the different sprites, for the different shapes, I think that would be awesome. And then you got to vary which move and turn blocks you use to make those other shapes. And that is the Drawing Shapes Lab. Thanks for watching.